It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Showtime! Geno Jones, Showtime. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 7. I got 7 fingers up because I come to you at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Shout out to Chicago, Memphis, Tennessee. Stand up. I see you. I'm standing with you. Everybody in the Central Time Zone from Minneapolis to Milwaukee, St. Louis, Missouri, Houston, Texas, Dallas, stand up. Louisiana, yes, right, that's right. I'm talking about New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Little Rock, Arkansas. Live in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, where Chris Brown is taking over Vegas. He is taking over the Raiders football stadium, Allegiant Stadium. I hear that stadium is fabulous. So he's going to be out in Vegas Friday night and Saturday night. The Breezy Bowl tour takes over the Sin City. So it's 4:30, Monday through Friday. You'll see me out there on the West Coast, 4:30. Live, coming to you live and in living color. Hey, listen, this show is interactive. So please, everybody watching me right now, leave your comments in the comment section. Well, first of all, the chat, I have a live chat room, so it's interactive. So if you want to talk to me in real time, when I'm on camera, like right now, you can jump in the chat room, you can say hi, you can let me know what's going on. If you got a comment, you got a question, you want to challenge me, whatever, come on with it. Tread lightly. I'm always on one, but I'm really on one tonight or today. I just thought I'd kind of give you a little warning, just a little heads up, just so you know what you're getting into. But look, I'm not looking for confrontation. I just love conversation. Just make sure the conversation ain't sideways. Don't come crazy with the conversation. Otherwise, you will get checked. All right, so tell everybody you know to subscribe to the channel. I am, about 79, I think last count. Less than 80, I think, was it 79? New subscribers from becoming a YouTube partner. So we are right, because at 1,000, the show becomes a YouTube partner. That means that YouTube will monetize my YouTube channel and my media company. So thank you for your support. It is so important. I've been saying this for nearly 5 years. By the way, my 5-year anniversary is 2 weeks from yesterday. So October 1st is a Wednesday. So that'll mark the 5-year anniversary of the Geno Jones Show live. Because I started off doing it a couple times a month. And then we started, October 1st, we started 5 nights a week. So thank you. We did like a couple test pilot shows. And then the official beginning was October 1st. So here we are, almost 5 years later. 4 years and I don't know what, 4 years and about 50 weeks, 50 weeks away. So I'm really excited about it. And thank you for your support. We started really from scratch, from zero, nada. I started with like no subscribers, and the only person that was watching me live in real time was my mother. So here we go. We are still doing this thing, so I want to thank you for your support. Tell everybody to subscribe to the channel, like I was just saying. Please, you can, if you want to do a screenshot of something, you can go ahead and snatch some of the video, chop it up, make it go viral. You can post it on your platforms. You have my blessing. That's okay. You know, even if you take it out of context, I got it. I get that. That's what some folks will do. Do you, don't worry. Because I'm right here. You know, one of the main themes of the show, tell the truth, shame the devil. We don't, before I will lie to you, I won't even talk to you. I won't say anything. As my grandmother Jean Jones said, if you're going to tell it all. Or don't talk, or don't tell nothing. Just shut up, stop talking. So, and I live by that, absolutely positively. So, once again, please leave your comments in my comment section. Click that thumbs up button below. Binge watch all my back episodes. Every episode I've done with all my big guest celebrities I've had on since, from Ronald Isley, Mr. Big, about 2 years, 3? No, going on 3 years now. I had Mr. Big, Ronald Isley, and Ernie Isley on the show. I've had who else? Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Lettucey, one of my favorite R&B singers, Kenny Lattimore, Howard Hewitt, old school, my man, this brother, October London, is killing the game. This sounds so much like Marvin Gaye. I can't even think of all the great artists I've had on. Politicians, public figures, doctors, and just people. I've had people on the show. It's a variety show. So I just wanted to kind of give everybody a heads up. All right, so I'm going to tie in something that I talked about on Tuesday with what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to tie it together in like one neat bow. Like you got like a lot of little small items. You buy a gift, or like the holidays, you think of Christmas, and sometimes you may have 2 or 3 things, smaller things, you put them in one big box. So it's not a gift, but I'm just going to tie a couple things together. It's Tuesday night, and shout out to Pastor Tory Liferidge. His perspective, if you missed Tuesday's show, my audio was, we're having some issues. The enemy is busy, like I say. Satan is busy, and when you really are saying something that the culture and the community and that humanity needs to hear, the enemy don't like that. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and he likes chaos and confusion. All of that, and conflict and violence. So when you are really coming with, with solutions and truth, that's the main thing. When you are coming with the truth, the enemy don't like that, but the enemy don't sleep. That's one thing about dude. Satan don't sleep, man. The enemy, he's I don't know what kind of Ambien he's taking. I don't know what caffeine tablets. I don't know what dude got going on, but he does not sleep. The enemy does not rest. But so the audio is like when you hear me talking, you hear this reverb sound. So there was just some technical issues, and I got a chance to troubleshoot it. And as you can hear now, we're good. But I was talking about this Jesus-free version of Christianity. Yeah, this remixed, racist, misogynist, sexist, white Christian nationalism, the same version of Christianity that was used. You go all the way back to the Crusades in the 11th century, where you actually had a pope. The pope at the time, Pope Urban II, he called for a holy war because he felt if you didn't worship their version of Christianity, it was that they felt that it was ordained by God that they were to conquer the world and spread their version of Christianity. And if the people rejected it or didn't buy in, then they had the divine right to kill in the name of Christianity. Oh my God. Really, y'all? Is that what we doing? Yeah. Okay. So I talked about the hypocrisy of that because, you hear people talking about Christianity and it's not just Christianity. So, okay, all you church folk, not church, we say on the south side, black folks, any neighborhood, a lot of times, like our older elders, because all of us have roots in the South as African Americans, and our families migrated in the 20s, 30s, 40s. The 40s was a big migration. The 40s and 50s was probably the biggest migration of African Americans from the South to the North, looking for employment. And they got, in a lot of cases, they got jobs, Chicago, Detroit, places like that, and different factories and plants. Detroit, you had Ford, GM, and Chrysler. You still got the 3 major auto plants. So a lot of people and just other jobs that were in the North. So, but I just want to talk about this racist remix version of Christianity, white Christian nationalism that has been weaponized, that has been propped up to justify, to explain, to basically give a pass and approve and kind of co-sign slavery and Jim Crow, the Holocaust, bigotry, hatred, fear, misogyny, sexism, homophobia, all that. Now, it's not just Christianity, though. Let me set the record. You know, all the religions. See, that's the one thing. Because religion, it basically is like, that's when man kind of tried to remix his interpretation of what God's teachings and Jesus' teachings. That's when it went wrong. And how you had people in power, leaders throughout history, throughout the centuries, you've had primarily men with power and wealth that has used religion, and some people who would sell out their Christian beliefs for cash, and they have used religions against the masses to weaponize it, to conquer, to control, to divide, which would then give those small handful of people, kind of like they created racism, or this construct, which is a con. I call it is like one of the greatest hustles. Man, these Europeans that created this whole, what they call a social construct, it's really just bullshit. It is a con. I'm gonna just keep it real. That's what we were calling on the south side of Chicago. It was just a con. It's a con that pitted poor, working class people from all different backgrounds, and they created this thing based on how much melanin you did or didn't have. And the folks that had the most melanin were supposed to be inferior, and the folks that had little melanin were supposed to be superior. Hence the phrase white supremacy, that they were just biologically and just divinely superior. And they said this, you can read this in books, than people of a darker complexion, people with melanin. But these Europeans, who eventually start calling themselves white, didn't give a shit about poor and working class Europeans or anybody else. But they had to figure out a way to trick folks and come up with a diversion, with a con, with a ruse. We got to come up with a hustle. Because if these poor and working class people who make up the majority of humanity figure out that the small handful of us that has pitted them against each other so we can control them, we can maintain all the social, economic, and political control. We've done it so we can amass, obtain, control, and get more money and power. Always follow the money and the power. And I'm going to tie all this into what happened with Jimmy Kimmel and everything else that's happened, because history repeats itself. It may not repeat itself exactly, but it sure does. It remixes it. It's a rhyme. It's like they may change a few of the lyrics, but the beats are the same, like sampling. The beats are the same. They sampling the same beats that Pope Urban II did back in 1095 when he ordered this holy war called the Crusades, the Christian Crusades. Google that, ChatGPT that, the Christian Crusades. Say that 3 times fast. The Christian Crusades. Yes. Then we had those who basically embrace and remix this Bible, this King James version, this which condoned, as a matter of fact, upheld slavery. They used it. They used that version of Christianity to basically to try to teach people of African descent that were kidnapped and brought here through this, and created a system of chattel slavery, which means that once they brought our ancestors from West Africa, which is different because there have been slavery throughout the history of the country, and there were slaves all over the country. Yeah, but it wasn't chattel slavery, because what makes chattel slavery different? Chattel slavery meant that when Africans were kidnapped and brought to America, when you had the Portuguese and the Spanish folks from Portugal and Spain and France and Great Britain would go to West Africa and trade guns, primarily weapons, for human capital, people, almost like sex, but it wasn't sex. You just think of sex, kidnapping, human trafficking, not just for sex, because the primary reason for human trafficking was to generate wealth. So these West Africans were brought here against their will, kidnapped, and then when they got to this country, America, that was already, where you had the indigenous Native Americans who were virtually exterminated, who were victims of genocide by these same Europeans, these same European pilgrims, as they call them, these Christian pilgrims from Europe. And you had this politician from Missouri, a senator, Eric Schmidt, and his German back. The funny thing about, his ancestors, when his ancestors first got to America, when the Germans started to come into America, probably, I think, somewhere around the late 1700s into the 1800s, I think his ancestors got here around 1840s, that the Europeans that were here, the quote-unquote founding fathers, that had this basically British, Welsh background, they didn't look at no Germans like they were equal. They looked at Germans like they were the N-word. German immigrants were discriminated against, came to America. The Italians were looked at as the N-words. The Irish were all, they were all looked down upon. They were like the N-words until they weren't. Until these Europeans who came up with this system called whiteness figured out, oh, man, we need some more white folks, because all these Africans, man, if they come together, and they saw what happened, you saw the Haitian Revolution, so that was a blueprint. They was like, oh shit, if they come together, we could wind up like those Europeans or those from Spain or Portugal. Let's see, Haiti, that was the French. Oh, that's right, the French went and colonized Haiti, but man, them brothers from West Africa that they dropped off in Haiti was like, what we not gonna do? Oh, well, hell no. Oh, it was ugly. And they was like, shit, we can't let that happen here. You had some instances. Google, ChatGPT, Bacon's Rebellion. We had our enslaved African ancestors and these poor working class, these poor, really like peasants, overseers, a lot of them from Europe, Germans. So you had these basically, actually they weren't even that. They were like indentured servants. So indentured servitude, which meant that if you were poor, you came here, you basically had to work. You had to work for somebody to get, it's like to work your debt off. And once you did that, but now the difference were the indentured servants, unlike the West Africans who were brought into a system called chattel slavery, the West Africans were never free. Now, some of them did eventually get their freedom one way or another, but the way the laws were written, if you were born into slavery, or if the Africans that were brought here, chattel slavery meant by law here in America that your offspring that was born, so if you came here from West Africa, you had a child. Your child was, by law, going to be enslaved for their life. And their child, that meant your grandchildren and great-grandchildren who were born here would be born enslaved to perpetuity till the end, until the laws changed. And then we had the Civil War, 1863. So that's the difference with chattel slavery. The Europeans that came here became indentured servants. They eventually got their freedom. But chattel slavery, oh no, not only were you not free, your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren weren't free. And all of that whole system of that evil, hateful, violent, rape, lynching, murder was all sanctioned under the name here in America, under the banner of Christianity. Hence the Jesus-free version of Christianity. Because, you know, if you look at the Gospel of Matthew, you know in the Gospel of Matthew that they talk about it was, you know, that enslaving anybody was good. Now, I know they'll say, oh, there's some parts of the Bible where it talked about your master should obey his slave. That wasn't the Gospel of Matthew. You know, the Gospel of Matthew talked about welcoming the stranger and taking care of the person that's hungry, the person who was in prison, feeding the hungry, taking care of those that need food, who were imprisoned, who were sick. Love thy neighbor like you love thyself. What Jesus talked about, he didn't talk about worshiping him. He said, follow my teachings. You know, peace, love, freedom, all that good stuff. Love thy neighbor like you love thyself. No, now that version of Christianity out against their Bible didn't have that in there. They talked about this chapter and verse said the slave should obey their master. They could, but now understand that all these different versions of the Bible are remixed. The Bible itself is an interpretation of God's word through men. Pastor Tony Liferich did a great job. Pastor Liferich talked about it. Something called the Council of Nicaea. There was a council of men. I think the Roman Empire, but I'm not a historian, but the Council of Nicaea, where it was a council of men that they were basically, they came together, or was put together to decide what's going to be in this Bible, what's not going to be. You know, what chapters, what gospels, what books are going to be in this giant book called the Bible. And they're all kind of different versions. You know, the oldest Bible, you know where it's at? No, you probably think, it's probably in the Vatican, the Pope's got it. No, it's in Ethiopia, with the birth of Christianity. Ethiopia, basically, that region, and Africa, the continent of Africa, is the birthplace of Christianity. Oh, I know. Don't tell these white Christian nationalists that. Kevin Roberts and Stephen Miller and Russell Vogt and all the racists behind Project 2025, all the co-authors, including this guy, Brendan Carr, who's the head of the FCC. He's one of the co-authors that wrote, basically how Project 2025 would just go after all of these broadcast companies. And really what they'll do, they go after they'll go after the companies that own local stations. And I'll explain to you, because I'm going to tie that into Jimmy Kimmel about, how the FCC, from back in the day, stations that broadcast over the airwaves, not cable, but like your CBS, ABC, NBC, now Fox. You got some other companies that have bought a lot of TV stations, Sinclair, Nexstar. I'm tying all this together. But I'm going back to this Jesus-free version of Christianity that has been weaponized and used and propped up to justify, condone, and enable wars, literal holy wars. And like I said, not just Christians, Islam, Judaism. Look at what racist ass Bibi Netanyahu is doing. once again, when men came up with this religion, which is kind of their remix version of the teachings of God, that's when it went sideways. But I digress. So now let's tie this into Jimmy Fallon real quick, Geno. How you do that? Make that make sense. Hey, Asia, how are you? Thank you. Hey, contestant number 2, thank you for watching tonight. Hope you're enjoying the show and enjoying the monologue. Let me know. And let all your other contestants and everybody else know. Tell them to check out the show right now because everybody was watching last night. So I just want to tie all this. I want to tie in this Jesus-free version of Christianity, this white Christian nationalism, which is very narrow-minded, limited, racist, hate-filled, violent, very sexist, very misogynist, rigid form of, I don't even want to they call it Christianity. It's just some remixed bullshit that they slap. Just imagine if you had like a little, they don't even make them anymore, I'm dating myself. But just imagine if you had like some little raggedy ass hoopty car that was rusted out and dents all over it and the paint is chipped and peeled off, and you went and got like a Mercedes emblem and stuck it on the hood and said, oh, this is a Benz. This is a Mercedes. No, this is a piece of shit, and you just stole somebody's Mercedes hood ornament and glued it on the top of your car and trying to pass this off like this is a Mercedes. Because what these people are practicing, it is not Christianity. It is a kidnapped, it is a co-opted version, it is a remix version of Christianity. It is their version, and they just slap Christianity on this ideology that's rooted in racism and hatred and bigotry and fear and domination and control and oppression and misogyny and sexism. It's a Jesus-free version of Christianity. Has nothing to do, especially like I said, with which is, look, I don't teach Sunday school. I never did. I never taught Bible study. I didn't go to theology school. I'm not even trying to be a preacher. I grew up in a Baptist church, Chicago. A lot of black people in the Midwest grew up Baptist. A lot of them, probably the majority, good. Some different, and they had all these different denominations of Christianity. Baptist and Pentecostal, Kojic, Church of God in Christ, and all these. And that should have been a red flag. When you got it's like all these different tribes, sects, version of the same religion. So everybody worshiping the same God, and then Jesus, Son of God. But then you got and then Catholicism and but look, Islam got the same thing. You got Sunnis, you got Shia, Muslim. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is that those who are in power now politically have embraced outside of Orange Hitler, because he's leaned into the brainwashing of the white Christian nationalists, because for them it's a religious crusade. They really believe that only white men should be in control of everything. And only a certain kind of white man. You gotta be racist. You have to be sexist. Women are not supposed to be heard. They don't want women to vote. And the thing about it, I will give them credit. Now, they're saying what used to be the quiet part out loud in front of a camera. There's a movement. No, that women should not vote. I've seen some of these same white Christian nationalists saying that we need to get rid of the 19th Amendment. Women should not have the right to vote. Women shouldn't be in leadership positions. Women should stay, the term for the Gen Zs is trad wife, traditional wife. No, you stay home and have a bunch of babies and take care of the children. And it's even gone so far where they're trying to pass, if this MAGA cult had their way, that they would pass a federal law to where women couldn't vote. And only men, because there was a time, if you go back to the original version of the Constitution, the only people who could vote, that very flawed original version, racist version of the Constitution, was wealthy white male landowners. You can go find this yourself. You can find an original copy, or a copy of the original version of the Constitution in the late 1780s. Only wealthy white male landowners could vote. And black folks, Africans, were 3/5 human. And guess who was never mentioned in that original version of the Constitution? They weren't even mentioned until you had all these different amendments that came in, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, the 19th Amendment. Women were not even mentioned. Like they didn't exist. So this is the ideology of this white Christian nationalism, which is global actually. It's not just here in America. So you've got those, and they have used Orange Hitler himself, who's leaned into these white Christian nationalists to get votes so he could just basically grift and get more money for him and his family like he's doing now. But for the people who are behind Orange Hitler, who are the true blue believers of white nationalism, Kevin Roberts, all these people that I'm naming, they were all like co-authors of this Project 2025 that I had warned people about for 3 years. And here we are, because now you see another page unveils itself every day. Kevin Roberts, a guy named Kevin Roberts, Stephen Miller, he's like ultra racist. And the weird thing about this dude is Jewish. It's like, dude, really? Do you know your history and the oppression? And do you know these Christians hated Jews? They enabled the Holocaust. Dude, do you know your history? Stephen Miller. And you got this guy, Russell Vought, who is like the head of what they call Office of Management and Budget, OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. There you go. That basically kind of oversees a lot of the mechanisms of government. I don't want to bore you with stuff today, but these are like the silent hand behind Orange Hitler. These are the ones that are really the policy, with snatching immigrants, and American citizens just because they may look Latino or Hispanic or sound that way. And black folks and everybody else, they're coming for us next. They've actually snatched up some black folks. And now they've come. Well, they already kind of came for Stephen Colbert, but they've come really now. They've come for a white dude with money and power and fame, Jimmy Kimmel, who hosts one of the hosts of late night talk show. He's got the Jimmy Kimmel. Well, he had the Jimmy Kimmel show. I think his show's been on ABC for close to 20 years now, something like that, on the entire ABC network. Suspended indefinitely. Now, what the MAGA cult and this whole cabal of Kevin Roberts and Stephen Miller and Russell Vought and that clique and ilk, Steve Bannon, I got to throw his name in there too. All these races, and they openly profess and talk about, yes, we are white Christian nationalists, and white Christian nationalism, that should be basically America. That should be the official religion of Christianity, and their version of Christianity, not the version of Christianity, the original version of Christianity that was practiced in Ethiopia, where the oldest Bible is. Not Google Coptic Christianity. No, they're not preaching and espousing Coptic Christianity. No, they are exposing white Christian nationalism, white supremacy, cloaked with Christianity, Jesus, and God wrapped around it. So that crew in the MAGA cult were upset with Jimmy Kimmel because he called out the MAGA hypocrisy. Because when the dude was killed, one of their boys that had been saying very racist, anti-Semitic, very sexist and misogynist, but he really had a thing for race. You can find it. It's not hard to find, because he had been doing podcasts for years and going to college campuses, just saying just the most racist things about black people. That Michelle Obama and Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, they didn't have the mental capabilities to do a white man's job. They stole a white person's job through affirmative action, because there's no way that a black woman could have like the mental makeup to do the job that a white person was doing. Now this dude said that dropped out of Harper College, actually from suburban Chicago, Arlington Heights, and dropped out of college, and then basically started to having these, they called debates. They really were not debates. You would find some people to debate, but it was propaganda, but it was rooted in racism. And this is not my opinion. You can find, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, what he said about black people. If I got on a plane and I saw a black pilot, the first thing I would say is, I wonder, is he qualified? Really? You would say that about a black pilot just because his skin is about the same color as mine? You would just automatically assume he couldn't be smart enough and logged in the flight hours. But you would never say that about a white pilot. But if you saw a black pilot, the first thing that he would say and ask is, I hope he's qualified. It's so much. But they were pissed off because Jimmy Fallon pointed out the hypocrisy that was rooted in something the governor of Utah actually said out loud during one of his press conferences, when the governor said, and I'm paraphrasing the quote, but this is almost verbatim. We were hoping that the shooter, the killer of this dude, was not one of us. That is a direct quote from the governor of Utah. We were hoping the shooter was not one of us. You were hoping he was going to be like a black person, or maybe a brown person, maybe one of those dangerous MS-13 Venezuelan, drug trafficking cartel murderers. Maybe you was hoping it was going to be somebody like that you could continue to reinforce this narrative about black and brown people. But since this was a young white man killing another young white man, and a young white man from Utah whose entire family was MAGA, voted Republican. And the governor said out loud that we were hoping that this person that shot and killed this dude was not one of us. But he was. And Jimmy Fallon pointed out the hypocrisy. And folks are in their feelings, and so some of the same MAGA cult, in their feelings, started attacking black people, black women, threatening black colleges, historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, going in and just attacking verbally, threatening black women. Some of the followers and people that supported this dude, y'all mad? Wasn't no black folks nowhere around. It wasn't no black folks. I saw just this campus. It was like an outdoor little pavilion where this dude was speaking, and he should not have been shot. I do not condone, even the most racist person, I don't condone any violence happening to you. I don't condone political violence at all. I don't wish death on anybody, even people that I can't stand. And I can hate your ideology and hate what you believe in and hate your hatred. But you have to be careful because you don't want to become what you despise and what you hate. So that's why you have to hate is you got to be careful and tricky with that word. You despise it, but it turns my stomach. But I know that's a sign of weakness. Racism, bigotry, any kind of misogyny, sexism is a sign of weakness. People who are strong and secure and know who they are and believe in themselves and bet on themselves and work on themselves, they don't worry about other people. They don't have to compare themselves to other people. They can make observations and say, you know what? This person is talented. Let me go in the lab and work on what I do and work on who I am so I can become the best version of me, because there's one thing that nobody can beat you doing. And that is being the best version of you. But now these same MAGA cult members that was bitching and moaning, talking about, the black folks and Black Lives Matter and these woke liberals, they were soft and pussies and snowflakes. And, they was bitching and moaning, complaining about, just because we would call out people, if you said some racist shit, we would call you out on it. But they got in there, oh no, don't call me racist. Oh, let you say some racist shit, but don't point out the fact that you just said something racist or sexist or hateful. So you want to engage in this behavior, but you're not even man enough to stand on business and say, yeah, I said it and I meant it. Just raise your hand. Don't run. And there was a saying when I was a kid, don't throw a rock and hide your hand. If you throw the rock, raise your hand. Say, hey, I threw it. Don't be a coward with it. And Jimmy Kimmel called out the hypocrisy. And then you had companies. So let me tie this up real neat for you real quick. So there's a company called Nexstar that is looking to engage in a merger with another company that has TV stations, local TV stations. Like Nexstar has all these small TV stations in different cities all around America. And on a lot of their stations, they run programming from the ABC network. ABC, from Good Morning America, ABC Nightly News, and then a lot of their network programming, including the Jimmy Kimmel Show. So Nexstar basically was like, told ABC, we are going to preempt, we're going to take Jimmy Kimmel, we're not going to run him on any of our local stations, which is funny because ABC, I know for a fact, still working in media, that type of arrangement is on paper. And that is, so ABC just really kind of just bent over and just said, okay, because ABC really could have sued companies like Nexstar and these other companies that own these smaller TV stations in local markets, because that could be a breach of contract. I know for a fact that let's say I bought a TV station. Now, ABC, CBS, NBC, they have what they call O&Os, owned and operated TV stations. There's only a handful. I can name the markets. I used to work at two of them. But they're major owned and operated stations for the three major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, New York, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dallas, Houston, Miami, Boston, and I know I'm leaving out a few, not too many, because there's only so many. There was a time the networks could only own so many what they call owned and operated. However, these same networks, they enter into deals. Say, hey, Geno Jones, you own a TV station here in Charleston, South Carolina, And we would like for you to carry programming from our network. They'll send a representative from ABC, say, we got all this great network programming, and here's our lineup. In September, we launching this show and that show, and we got Jimmy Kimmel at night, and, we've got Good Morning America with Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos, and my man Michael Strahan, and all that. That's how they pitch it. So, me, local station of the Geno Jones Network, Geno Media, TV station here. Okay, I'll become an affiliate. That's the term, that's the legal term. They become affiliates, which means an affiliate will carry your programming. Like, we are owned by ABC, but we're not owned by ABC. We're owned by Geno Jones, or in reality, they're owned by Nexstar or Sinclair, and they become an affiliate. So all these, Nexstar had all these local stations that were ABC network affiliates that said that they weren't going to carry, they were going to preempt Jimmy Fallon's show. And then ABC punked out and bitched out and just pulled his show, suspended him indefinitely. Now, if ABC had some balls, ABC said, okay, if you pull his show, we're going to see you in court, because that's a breach of contract. You just can't pull a show. He didn't say anything that called for any type of violence toward anybody. So these affiliates really didn't have a legal ground. It was just they were offended. They felt their viewers were offended. But they could have taken that, and ABC Network got enough money, Disney, hello, ESPN, Disney, like all the Disney, Walt Disney Network, and Marvel. Yes, Disney owns ABC. So Disney got more money than God almost. So Disney could have fought this if they wanted to. These local stations, like, all right, you pull Jimmy Kimmel without a legitimate cause, we'll see you in court. They didn't want to do that because they're worried about Orange Hitler, and they're worried about this white Christian nationalist cult. So that's what was behind that. And because this company that owns hundreds of local stations that are ABC affiliates are looking to enter into a merger with another company so Nexstar can become an even bigger company. A lot of mergers. But for a merger for a company that carries stations, local stations have broadcast licenses that the FCC has to approve. And every 3 years, I forgot, something like 3 to 5 years, you're licensed in all these local markets. So all these Nexstar affiliated stations, or these Nexstar owned stations that are ABC affiliates, because in some cities, Nexstar may have be a CBS or NBC or Fox network affiliate, which means they carry programming from CBS or Fox or NBC, but they're still owned by Nexstar. But Nexstar wants to enter into this merger with this other company to acquire more TV stations. But that merger has to be signed off on and approved by the FCC commissioner, a white nationalist, one of the co-authors of Project 2025, Brendan Carr, who's already said publicly on camera multiple times that, I'm paraphrasing, we got to reel this in because these networks are just going too far, and they're against the president, and they're biased, and blah, blah, blah. And so that's what happened. But let's talk about fascism, which is where I really wanted to start off the show. Here's the definition of fascism. Fascism. It's an authoritarian, oppressive, intolerant, racist, bigoted, hateful, usually misogynist, sexist system of government. And the authoritarian, I'm now at a loss of words, is a dictator. So, authoritarian, there you go. I knew I would get it right. Sometimes you get tongue-tied. So this authoritarian form of government, this is an authoritarian form of government, that's a dictator. That's why I got tongue-tied, because I started laughing. An authoritarian is just a fancy way, a tongue twister way of talking about a dictator. So when you hear about an authoritarian, a dictator, talking about autocracy, that's another word they use. That's what you got. That's what fascism is. Now, you understand, you explain what happened. You know what happened. I explained it to you. Hopefully you got it. Hopefully you understand it. And we will continue to expose this and this authoritarian form of government. And we warn people about this authoritarian form of government was coming, or fascism. So when you hear about fascism, that's what it is. Nazi Germany, fascism. Hitler was an authoritarian. Mussolini was authoritarian. Putin is authoritarian, is an authoritarian. And Kim Jong-un is authoritarian. President Xi of China is an authoritarian. The president of Hungary, Viktor Orban, an authoritarian. Yes, there you go. All right, listen, thank you for letting me be a part of your life. Shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you, Asia, and everybody else watching the show. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Please leave your comments in the comment section. Please, please, please leave your comments. Like, love, hate. I know my MAGA cult members, I know you all hate watch the show. Leave your comments too. Don't worry. I'm not thin-skinned. Say what you want to say. Because if you say some real stupid stuff, I'll block you. But go ahead. Say what's on your mind. Get it off your chest. But leave your comments. Please subscribe and share. Like. And if you're watching me live, the show's interactive. Don't forget, you can please leave your comments. Give a comment, or you can engage in conversation. If you got a question for me, you got a comment, or whatever you want me to shout you out, maybe a birthday or whatever it is. Shout out to Mayor Chardale Murray. She is the mayor of Hollywood, South Carolina. It is one of the surrounding towns here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro area. Happy birthday to her mom, Lorraine Murray. Happy birthday, Mother Lorraine Murray. Happy birthday today. Here they go. Make sure that you're going to have a wonderful birthday and probably a whole birthday weekend and week. So shout out to you, Mother Murray, and shout out your daughter's an amazing woman, this beautiful sister, Mayor Dr. Chardale Murray, and everybody else celebrating a birthday today. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. You and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. out on the West Coast. Once again, subscribe to my channel. I'm probably, I think the last count, under 80? 70, 79, something like that, 78. New subscribers away from becoming that YouTube partner. That means once I cross that threshold, that YouTube will monetize this channel, my YouTube channel, and my media company. Also, it's so important we support Black-owned media, because you see now, you've got the takeover, you got the MAGA takeover, and you got people like Larry Ellison and his son David Ellison bought Paramount, that's CBS, and now he wants to buy basically, what is it? Warner, that owns Time Warner, and it owns Warner Brothers movies and films, and the studio, the film houses, CNN, HBO, all of that. So we need some billionaires that believe in humanity, that believe in empathy and decency. Yeah, where are the billionaires that stand up for humanity? We need y'all to go ahead and but you know what? Now I'm talking to Black America, and for those who are anti-racist, but just for the culture and the community, we are all we got. Because, you know, America has always basically given us its ass to kiss. So we ain't gonna kiss it. We just, you know what, we're good. We don't need, just going over there. We are all we got. But the truth is, not only are we all we got, we are all we need. And we got everything we need. So going over there with your little authoritarian, dictator, oppressive, intolerant, racist, misogynist, sexist bullshit, going over there with that. Because what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to start, like I said, the way to get people's attention, even the most racist, bigoted, sexist, misogynistic, hateful, evil, demonic person, start digging in them pockets. So I'm gonna talk more about that. So we're gonna have to, Target was an example. Now, I could make an argument that Target shouldn't have been the first target, no pun intended. We should not have targeted necessarily Target. I can think of some other companies, even larger than Target, that we could have targeted first, but it's okay. Now that we see that we as Black America, that our money is power. And it can make a difference. It can cause a company to lose $12 billion in value in 8 months, because that's what happened to Target. Because they decided they didn't want to give $2 million they had committed to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion that they verbally promised publicly after George Floyd was murdered. But I've talked about that monologue, and we can get back to that later. So, all right, shout out to Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. He is the CEO of Designer Cuts here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro. Check him out on Instagram, Kel Be Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. And Allie Jones is the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the show. You can check Allie and her Lexi Jones collection out. LX.NCL_. LX.NCL_. I love you. I really do. I absolutely, positively love you and you and you and me. Friday, tomorrow. So I have 2 more contestants. We have this huge pageant, Miss Plus Size Charleston again. So shout out to Asia and Jessica. They were on with me last night. A great conversation, great episode. Tomorrow, I will have 2 more contestants from this year's pageant, which is going to be next Saturday, September 27th, here at West Ashley High School here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro area. So we'll have 2 more contestants to tell their story and just talk about how exciting and what's life like for a contestant in this pageant. What is pageant life like? Is it fun? Is it hard? I'm sure it's all of that. So, and find out what's their inspiration, and if they become a Miss Plus Size Charleston, what do they plan to do with that platform? So, thank you, everybody. I love you. We'll see you Friday, the edition of the Geno Jones Show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. out in Los Angeles, 4:30 p.m. out not just in Los Angeles, but Las Vegas, where Mr. Chris Brown is going to be taking a Breezy Bowl tour, taking over Vegas Friday night and Saturday night. So you'll see me on camera. So tell Breezy to check out the show. 4:30 p.m. out on the West Coast, 4:30 p.m. in Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Thanks, everybody.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.